What's up, guys? So I got a few questions on the kettlebell swing that I wanted to go over. So ideally for the kettlebell swing, we want to see hip flexion and knee flexion. What that means is we want to see this hinge occur at the hips. We also do want to see some knee flexion. I personally don't practice or teach swings in a way where it's extremely hip dominant. I personally feel and believe the swing should have a little more knee flexion because I feel that coming out of this position is a more powerful athletic position rather than if I take a more narrow stance and perform my swings like this. I see the swing performed like that. I just don't feel when I practice it that way, I don't feel that I can produce the amount of power or speed performed that way when compared to a slightly wider stance with a little more knee flexion. I feel that's a more powerful position. But again, that's just my opinion. So one thing you want to make sure is the wrists are connecting or making contact with your groin or the inner thigh. Meaning, if the arms are too far and the wrists are too far from your groin or inner thigh, you're going to see a little more spinal flexion occur than normal, okay? So the bell, as you lower on the down swing or the back swing, the bell should travel about the level or even higher than the knees. If you're seeing the bell travel below the knees, that means the wrists are going to be too far from the inner thigh or groin at the backswing. So one thing, make sure the wrists stay close to the groin and the bell is not traveling below the knees on the downswing or the backswing. What you can do if you're performing this by yourself is simply just set up your phone, record yourself, do a few rounds of swings, and just pause the video and watch yourself what your body looks like at the backswing. Does it look like you're squatting? Does it look like you're hinging? Okay, and then if, based on what it looks like, you just adjust what you're doing, and over time, you'll get better and better at that position. One drill that I personally use to ensure that I'm going back far enough into the swing, or when I'm doing a kettlebell snatch, is I imagine that I'm trying to either touch the bell to a wall behind me, like tap a wall, or I'm trying to actually throw the bell back behind me. What that means is, if I'm imagining on the backswing, I want to tap the wall behind me, I'm going to have to get pretty far into this position. Or if I want to throw the bell back behind me, that's what my position looks like. If I'm squatting and I let go of the bell, or I'm trying to tap a wall, it's not going to happen. So sometimes just that visualization is enough, where I just picture tapping the bell to a wall behind me, or throwing it between my legs. Sometimes that's enough for me. I'd say the swing is probably a full body exercise in the sense where it's probably using a lot of different muscle groups, but primarily we're using the posterior chain. So hamstrings, glutes are probably the most dominant or most active in that movement, but you're still using your grip, forearm, shoulder, back muscles to perform that. Generally, it's all your hips. The arms form this connection from your body to the weight, where you're doing almost like a pendulum. So the harder you snap your hips forward determines the height that the bell travels. So you really should only have the bell travel up to around chest height, somewhere in there. Your hips are responsible for how high the bell travels, not utilizing or using your upper body or shoulder muscles to elevate the bell. As if you think about the swing, we're trying to produce the force forward, this horizontal vector or whatever. If the arms stay pretty straight, your hip drive produces the bell forward. If I'm allowing the arms to flex through that direction of the bell changes. And so sometimes when people don't have their arms straight, you see this occur. see this weird, like, I think they call them T-Rex arms or something, where basically they're driving, but then they do this. And this is, I'm not a big fan of this. So get the arms straight, squeeze the handle as hard as you can. Try and keep those elbows locked out or a little bit of flexion, but definitely don't adopt this sort of swinging position that you see.